God help the fuzz if they tangle with the Dirt Gang. The Dirt Gang. They'd scare the devil right out of hell. And when they hit town, they had just one thought in mind. Tear it to shreds. The Dirt Gang. When they turned their choppers loose, any fuzz who flashed a badge was liable to get a face full of tread marks and a 250-pound bike shoved right where it hurts the most. If you've ever wondered what kind of men get their kicks ripping off everything in sight, see the Dirt Gang. If you've ever wondered what kind of chicks do anything just to go along for the ride, see the Dirt Gang. If you've never seen a chopper death duel, see the Dirt Gang. Look out, Fuzz. Here comes the Dirt Gang.
We're not talking about actors. We mean a real monster.
I brought her back. She'll live and I'll get her another body.
I know they're going to catch me, but don't let anyone see me like that. Please, Doctor, help me.
Biologically speaking, it's of primary importance that man should want to mate. Hey, that
You don't get all your kicks from surfing, do you?
We want to be free to ride our machines without being hassled by the man. And we want to get loaded.
You think you're going to make a slave of the world? I'll see you in hell first.
The American International Podcast.
Are you ready?
This is the American International Podcast. I'm Jeff Markin.
I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And on this episode, we'll be off-roading with the Dirt Gang from 1972.
The Dirt Gang was directed by Jerry Jameson, written by Michael C. Healy and Michael DeForest, who wasn't credited, and produced by Joseph E. Bishop, Paul Carr, Arthur A. Jacobs, Ronald Jacobs, and Roger Corman for Building G Productions, and it was released by American International Pictures.
The Dirt Gang stars Paul Carr as Monk, Michael Pataki as Snake, Lee Broux as Jesse, Jon Shank as Padre, Nanci Harris as Big Beth, TJ Escott as Bill, Jessica Stewart as Stormy.
It also stars Tom Anders as Marty, Joe Mosca as Willie, Michael Forrest as Zeno, Joanne Meredith as Dawn Christian, Nanci Beck as Mary, Charles Macaulay as Curt, Hal England as Sidney, Ben Archibek as Jason, and William Billy Benedict as the gas station attendant.
The Dirt Gang opens as the camera pans across the serene desert, but this idyllic sight is interrupted by the sound and dust stirring of dirt bikes.
They do some stunt jumps as the horns in the soundtrack take it up to 11 to play the Dirt Gang theme song.
The Dirt Gang rides throughout the credit sequence and eventually ends up at a service station. This is Monk, who wears an eye patch, Snake, Jesse, and Willie.
The proprietor tries to discourage their self-service gasoline theft. Monk and Snake in turn discourage him from intervening as they ransack the office.
The attendant notices Jesse in his office and asks what he's doing in there. Jesse's response is silence as Willie hits the attendant over the head with an empty gas can, and the attendant goes down.
Monk and Snake hide his body in the back of the garage as Jesse finishes pilfering the cash box. Willie wants to steal some tools too, but there's a cop approaching the station. Monk yells at Willie to get on his bike. They need to roll, but Willie's too busy filling a sack with wrenches and screwdrivers to leave with the others.
The cop car pulls up, and the officer gets out and looks around. He notices the attendant lying on the ground and starts to walk toward him with his gun drawn. Just then Willie comes behind him and hits him over the head, just as the cop turns around and shoots Willie.
The bullet hits the mark, and Willie is apparently dead. The deputy staggers to his car to call in the incident. Apparently they're in Twin Forks, whatever state we're in. There are 3 suspects on motorbikes headed southeast on Highway 39.
Another cop car receives the call just as the 3 dirt bikes ride past, so the officer pursues with his siren blaring. The dirt bikers go off the highway onto a dirt road, and the police car can only follow the cloud of dust the dirt bikes leave in their wake.
Eventually, he spots a bike lying down in the sand, with a man underneath it. The cop gets out, gun drawn. When he kicks the man over with his toe, the man laughs. This is Jesse. Then Monk and Snake on their bikes jump over a hill. Monk knocks him down, and Snake runs him over, and he appears to be dead.
Then the 3 dirt bikers, all off their bikes, walk to the fallen officer, and Snake rips the badge from the officer's shirt and puts it in his pocket. Jesse takes the officer's gun, and then Monk directs the others to put the body back in his car.
Snake has the officer's keys, so he opens the trunk. He finds a can of gasoline and some road flares, and he's excited by both. Carr gets drenched in a liberal dose of gasoline, and Snake uses one of those flares to set the gas on fire. Then they put the car in drive, and it rolls away as Snake tosses the flare at the car.
As they all watch, the trunk blows, so they must have hit the gas line as well. And then the hood blows. I don't know what caused that.
Oh, there's some sort of detonator in the car, activated by the fire, I guess.
You really did it this time, says Jesse.
The car is engulfed in flames.
Snake pulls on his new badge and makes Jesse promise to uphold the law of the land. Then they seal the deal with a kiss.
Then Jesse asks about Willie. Monk says he's probably back at camp by now. So they get on their bikes and ride and ride and ride some more to get to their camp.
When they finally get there, they find that Willie isn't there, so Monk sends Jesse down the road to look for him. Then Monk and Snake go off to find Biff, who they're told is having a picnic. Biff is sitting on a blanket with two girls. This is Stormy and Big Beth.
As some absolute Manson-esque creep named Padre preaches next to them. Once he's done preaching, he jumps on the three of them just as Monk and Snake approach.
Monk pulls Biff from the bottom of the people pile and tells him that he was supposed to ride with them today. He's their good luck charm, and now Willie is probably in jail. The man got him, and it's all Biff's fault. Jesse returns as Monk is explaining this.
Padre offers to say a prayer for Willie. Monk tells the gang to get ready. They're going to go to Mexico.
And Stormy tells Beth she's got a bad feeling about this.
She's afraid they're doomed. Monk is holding a racing poster of the guy who's responsible for his missing eye. Biff offers to burn it, but Monk holds onto it like a grudge. Biff says they've been zigzagging the country and haven't found that man yet. Maybe he's dead. Monk knows that's not true and predicts that they're going to see him soon because he's heard things. Biff thinks that Monk should just let it go, but Monk takes the loss of his eye, even though it seems to have been the result of an accident during a bike duel, very personally. Biff pledges allegiance to Monk, and the gang heads towards Mexico to the sound of their anthem.
They ride for a while, and then we suddenly find ourselves in a small town in the Old West.
Did we time travel?
A Native American is grabbing a saloon girl before being shot by a cowboy. From up on a nearby hill, the Dirt Gang looks down upon the town. They debate whether to waste time pillaging the town. They're supposed to be going to Mexico.
After some debate, Stormy thinks that they should just keep going to Mexico. The gang decide to head down there for a chance at some food and mischief.
They ride into the town, knocking over passersby and scaring horses.
In the havoc, a horse gets away. Movie sets are destroyed. Props are broken. Bosoms are pinched. That saloon girl was tied to a post and couldn't stop them.
This is Dawn Christian, the film's lead, and the Dirt Gang surrounds her on their bikes. She asks what's going on, and Snake says that they've come to rescue her. Then Sidney, who I believe is the film's assistant director, tells the Dirt Gang to relax. Monk says they are relaxed, and Sidney tells them they're trying to make a movie here. He asks what they want, and Big Beth says she's hungry and wants something to eat.
Monk tells the director, whose name is Curt, that if they get some food, they'll be on their way. Curt hedges his bets that this actually might be true and gives them permission to infiltrate the catering tent, and they go off in that direction. Curt tells his alarmed crew that they could be as good as their word.
Curt thinks they're just having a good time. They'll eat and be on their way. But Zeno, the stuntman portraying that Native American we saw, isn't so sure. Jason, the film's leading man, wants to know why he isn't so sure, and Zeno says he's seen this before, and he advises them to call the sheriff. But Curt doesn't think that will be necessary. Suit yourself, says Zeno as he walks off. Then Jason says he'd rather get rid of Zeno, the stuntman. He never did trust that sort.
And now Zeno and Mary, the script girl, are in the makeup room watching the gang eating. She says she's glad Zeno is there and asks where this gang might have come from. Zeno calls them gypsy bikers, probably kicked off the dirt racing circuit. He admits to kicking around that scene in the past. Mary doesn't believe he used to be like them, but Zeno says he was. He gets called back to set. Watching him leave, Mary says that last night was nice. Zeno says nothing.
In the mess tent, the Dirt Gang is devouring their food. Monk is drinking an entire bottle of wine, and Beth is gorging herself on a whole chicken. She sees Mary and calls her over to talk to her. Mary is reluctant, but Beth promises she won't hurt her. As Mary gets close, Beth tells her she needs her to lean down so she can whisper in her ear. Mary leans down and Beth grabs her, throws her down on the table, and kisses her as the Dirt Gang cheers.
Mary breaks free and the gang laughs and laughs. One of the gang tries to give her relationship advice. Mary just runs off. Now we're back on the set. Dawn Christian, the saloon girl, is trying to get the costumer to make her dress even more revealing. Her body is her moneymaker.
Through his megaphone, Sidney calls out that this'll be a take. Curt, the director, calls action for the further adventures of Naughty Marietta, and from a second-story building, Zeno and Dawn run out into the balcony. A shot rings out, and Zeno falls over it to a mat below. Dawn is hanging onto the ledge of the building, and she starts to laugh. She says she can't say her line, it's too funny.
Curt and Mary consult the script as Dawn is unwired from the railing, and the shot reset. Dawn starts bickering with Curt. She doesn't approve of his directing style. He calls her an old has-been. Then he reminds her that they're behind schedule.
And she has a percentage in this picture, so she may want to be more cooperative.
Yeah, she's going to lose money too.
Back in the tent, the Dirt Gang is still chowing down when Zeno comes over to stare at them. He's no longer dressed in American Indian garb. He's wearing black leather pants and a shirt and sunglasses, but he still has the war paint on his face. The gang is quiet when they see they have an audience. Finally, Snake pipes up. What, do you think we're freaks or something? Zeno says nothing. So Snake asks the others, do we look like freaks? You do, one says.
They can't tell, but Zeno's staring at Monk. Monk finally notices and stares back. Snake and the rest of them are oblivious to the meaning behind this. But I've seen the movie already, so I know what it means.
Snake asks Zeno if he wants to get his ass stomped, and Biff grabs a bottle of ketchup and prepares to use it. I'm a peace-loving man, says Zeno as he walks away. Hallelujah, says Padre, and Monk gets up to follow Zeno.
Monk and Zeno seem to have a friendly reunion on the surface, but there are tense undercurrents. Zeno hears that Monk's been looking for him. Monk flashes his gnarly eye socket at him. Zeno says Monk knows that was an accident and tells Monk that he should go. There's nothing for him here. Monk begs to differ. Everything is here for me now. Then he returns to share his news with the gang.
He tells them to make themselves comfortable because they're home. Biff asks about Mexico, and Monk says they'll get there. But in the meantime, Monk tells everyone to go have some fun. Stormy wants Monk to go with her, and they can have fun like they used to. Monk tells Stormy that he's sick of her and her star charts, and she just doesn't do it for him anymore. She throws herself at him anyway, and he grabs her by the throat and warns her never to do that again. Then Monk storms off.
After he leaves, Big Beth tries to comfort Stormy, but says she shouldn't have done that. Stormy says that Monk is on a suicide trip.
On the film set, the crew prepares for another take. As riders on horseback ride through the town, the Dirt Gang pulls the riders from their horses and wrestles them. Sidney runs out, "Come on, fellas, have a heart." Monk grabs him in a stranglehold and tells him that they're just there to help. He says Jesse always wanted to direct something, and he hands the megaphone to Jesse.
Jesse's first scene is to direct Jason, the leading man, to do a love scene with Big Beth. He refuses and calls her disgusting, causing Beth to wail. Snake offers to give Jason some impromptu plastic surgery, so Jason agrees to give Beth a chance. Jesse tells him that in this scene, Beth is a lesbian, so he has to rape her, and even Jason is taken aback by this plot line. While they're busy, Sidney sends Mary to the trailer to call the sheriff.
Sidney is sitting nearby, watching the dirt bikers harass the film crew, and Monk goes over to harass Zeno. Zeno asks just what is it that he wants. Monk says that Zeno knows what he wants, and that Zeno can save these people a lot of trouble if he just agreed to settle their differences on their bikes. But Zeno isn't willing, so Monk returns to the others to join in their chaos.
Now we're with Mary in the trailer trying to call the sheriff. It's a rotary dial phone, so this is going to take a minute. Snake finds her and makes her hang up. Then he crowds her as she tries to use the dinette table to keep herself safe from his advances.
He pushes up against her and tells her that his mama left him and now he's got to go find a new one. He sets her down behind the table and takes off his shirt. "Let me go," she pleads. "Snake would like to do you," says Snake. "No," Mary screams. Zeno comes in and punches Snake out and takes Mary outside. They jump in a dune buggy, but one of the dirt gang sees him and reports to Monk that the stuntman and the chick are getting away.
So now we have another chase in the desert. 3 bikers give chase. They get close enough to the dune buggy, and the one riding behind Monk jumps into the dune buggy and starts pummeling Zeno, who's forced to stop.
And then the other bikers join in on beating up Zeno. Back on the set, Curt and Sidney are discussing their next move. Dawn is there to offer unhelpful commentary. She says they can't even put a movie together. How are they going to plan their way out of this?
Curt thinks they should all remain calm, but Dawn says that she knows what they want. It's what all men want, and that puts them in her ballpark.
Then Monk and the others return with Mary, the dune buggy, and an unconscious Zeno. Monk tells Mary that wasn't a very cool thing to do. He tells the others to check the vehicles for keys. He doesn't want anyone trying that again.
Then Beth triumphantly shows off a rifle that she found as Zeno's unconscious body is laid onto the ground. Mary attends to him as Monk examines the gun. It's apparently not just a prop.
Monk points it at Zeno, who's still lying unconscious on the ground. "My God, no!" shouts Curt, and Monk flashes him a smile.
Jesse pours his beer on Zeno, who starts to come to.
Biff rides up and alerts everyone that a patrol car is coming, so Monk tells everyone to get the bikes off the street. When that patrol car pulls up, Curt and Sidney speak to the officer as the dirt gang watches from inside the buildings. Curt explains they're just here making a movie. The cop asks if they've seen a bike gang. They say no. And the cop tells them to keep a lookout. They're suspected of having killed a couple of people.
Curt and Sidney look extremely uncomfortable, but don't stop the sheriff from leaving. At that, the entire gang moves into the catering tent for the night. Sidney and the rest of the cast and crew are there too, and he asks what they're going to do with them. Monk says they're going to have a party. Snake says it's the likes of which you've never seen. To get the cast and the crew in the party mood, Monk says Beth will shoot anyone who tries to escape. Then they order everyone against the wall of the tent.
Monk walks over to Zeno, who's sitting in a chair barely conscious with his hands and feet bound, and tells him that this is the way Zeno wanted it. He could have prevented all of this. Mary's sitting next to him, and Zeno has to explain what Monk was talking about. A few years ago, they had a bike race, and Monk lost his eye. Mary asks if that's all he wants, a race? Not a race, says Zeno, a duel. A duel on bikes.
To the death. And now at the party, Dawn breaks ranks and sidles up to Monk, offering to give him something that everyone will like if they could just be alone. Everyone's going to like it? Your place or mine, asks Monk, and she says her dressing room is just steps away. And as they leave, everyone in the gang goes, ooh.
Zeno tells Mary to cover him with his jacket, like she's trying to keep him warm. Then she could work on the ropes that are binding his hands and feet, out of sight of the others. Then Snake announces that they're going to have a party, but first the Padre is going to say a few words.
Padre has to give the gang's origin story, which reminds us of the cast members' names.
Padre stands and says, "In the beginning there was a king, and the king was called Monk, and Monk was a cool king, and he begat Biff, a gentle soul, and together they begat Snake and Jesse, 2 great brothers of the earth. And then, oh, then came the mamas, and they all created a spaced out world."
Wait, Monk gave birth to Jesse and Snake?
So the legend goes.
Wow. In Don's dressing room, she lights some candles and pours Monk a drink. She tries to explain what on the rocks means to him, but he'd rather have his scotch neat. He likes the expensive stuff that Don has and then helps himself to more after draining the first glass. She invites him to get more comfortable and help himself to her, and she starts to undress.
Back in the tent, the party has begun. People are drinking and smoking and shirts are coming off.
Over in Don's dressing room, she doesn't get naked. Well, she does for a second, then she puts on a jumpsuit and then tells Monk that the two of them should be able to come to a reasonable arrangement. She asks how she may be of service to him. And he says he wants to do a studio tour.
He did.
I don't blame him. They're really fun.
And back in the tent, the party is in full force. Beth is dancing with her gun and more shirts come off.
And some of the female crew members are getting molested. Isn't it weird there's only 2 actors in this whole movie?
Yeah, well, 3 if you count the stuntman.
Well, yeah. So there's 3 characters in this entire movie.
Yep, and no cameras.
And no cameras. Back in the dressing room, Don flatters Monk until he gets the hint and throws her down on a bed and takes off her top.
And back at the tent, the party has now become an orgy. A guy rides in on his bike buck naked, sticking to the leather seat.
Gross. Definitely going to want to wipe that one down before you use it. Back with Don and Monk, they're going at it, and Don seems pretty happy about it.
And we cut back and forth a few more times. The orgy gets more wild, as do Monk and Don.
And then someone who we believe is Jason tries to hop on a bike to see if he can get out of there.
He can't get it started, so he tries another. This one starts up and he rides off.
Unfortunately, the gang hears this, and everyone goes out to see what's going on.
Snake, wearing only boots and tighty whities, yells out to Monk that some dude is getting away.
But Monk would rather share the news of his latest conquest. It a movie star. And anyway, that guy will be back soon. They don't have to do anything.
A couple of shots ring out, followed by the sound of a bike. See, says Monk, I told you he'd be right back. One of the bikers rides up and drops the guy's body on the ground.
Snake says a few words over the body in the voice of W.C. Fields.
Monk warns the film crew that now they see what will happen to anyone who tries to escape.
And then the party moves back into the tent, where Monk notices that Zeno is no longer sitting on that love seat, and that is a problem. He grabs Sidney and asks him where Zeno went. Sidney tells Monk everything, even volunteering that Mary helped him escape. Monk threatens to deal with Mary later, and Sidney gets punched for being a fink.
Monk, Biff, and a few of the other bikers go after him on their bikes, armed with flares. Zeno hides behind a rock on an overhang, and as one of the bikers goes past, Zeno jumps on him, causing the bike to flip and the rider to be thrown. Zeno grabs one of the flares and waits for the other biker. As the biker rides by, Zeno sets him aflame with the flare. The flaming dirt biker rides off a cliff but explodes before he has to make a landing.
It's like he was a car with a full tank of gas on fire.
And you would think he would jump off and maybe stop, drop, and roll, but instead his plan was to ride over a cliff.
The wind would put out the fire. There'd be a lot of it. Then the other bikers corral Zeno and tie him to the back of a bike by his ankles. They drag him back to set. Everyone is there to see Zeno being tied to the hitching post.
Mary runs up to help Zeno, but Monk grabs her. Then he gives her to Snake and tells him to do a little number on her. She's not willing, but Snake says it's too bad. She would have made a good mama.
Yeah, this is her punishment for helping Zeno escape, I guess. Everyone watches as Snake starts to rape her. It's agonizing, but no one does anything. Finally, Zeno has had enough.
He yells out, Monk, what you want? I'll do it. Monk tells Snake that's enough and to let her go. But Snake isn't finished yet. Mary spits in Snake's face, and Jessie has to tear Snake off of her.
Don comes to Mary's rescue, helping the screaming woman up and taking her away. This is really gut-wrenching. It was far too real for my tastes.
The next day, it's bright and sunny and a good day for a duel.
It must be high noon.
Monk is on his bike, he has a chain, and he removes his eye patch. Biff gives him a kiss for luck, and he hands Monk his helmet.
No one is on Zeno's side. Before the proceedings begin, Beth is in a 2-seater motorcycle riding down the center of the street for a bit of spectacle. Monk and Zeno sit atop their mounts, chains in hand. Beth fires off a shot, and the two ride at each other.
They ride past each other, whipping the other with their chains as they go by. Snake says maybe they should give Monk a hand, but Biff says this is between them. Fine, says Snake. Monk and Zeno continue riding past each other and hitting each other with the chains. On a pass, Monk grabs Zeno's handlebars with his chain and forces the bike and Zeno to the ground. Then Monk turns around to go for the kill, but Zeno manages to roll out of the way. Monk comes around again, and this time Zeno pulls Monk from his bike, so now they're fighting hand to hand. Zeno pushes Monk into a window, and Monk turns right around, and as someone hands him a bottle, he breaks it over Zeno's helmet. Zeno grabs a spear, apparently a prop from the film, but Monk grabs a 2x4 and starts beating Zeno with it. Zeno drops the spear as he falls to the ground.
With Zeno on the ground, Monk returns to his bike so he can ride over him for a final kill. But just as he passes, Zeno grabs that spear, and he skewers Monk as he drives past, taking him off the bike, and apparently killing him.
As Monk lies dead on the ground, the Dirt Gang looks down at their fallen leader with disgust.
I thought they were mourning him. A helicopter pulls away from the set to give us a long shot of the town as the credits, the brief version, roll, and that's the end.
You're listening to the American International Podcast, and we're discussing The Dirt Gang from 1972.
The Dirt Gang is the last biker film made by American International Pictures.
The movie was shot somewhere in the southwest United States, and filming had wrapped by February of 1972. Stunts in the movie were coordinated by Stunts Unlimited and Friends under the direction of Ronnie Rondell. A friend of actress Nanci Beck posted online that she did her own stunts, including the chase scene through the desert where she and Zeno are pursued by the bikers. Stunts Unlimited had formed in 1970. The Dirt Gang was one of the first films they worked on.
The soundtrack music was provided by a band called The Harvest and included the songs The Dirt Gang and Lightning Man.
Michael Forrest, who played Zeno, also played Adonis in the Star Trek episode Who Mourns for Adonis. Paul Carr, who played Monk, also appeared on the show as a USS Enterprise helmsman in Where No Man Has Gone Before.
Director Jerry Jameson directed 1974's Bat People, also for AIP, but he is best known for directing made-for-TV movies and television shows like Dallas, Dynasty, Walker, Texas Ranger, and Murder, She Wrote.
Although a 1971 copyright notice for Building G Productions Incorporated appears in the opening credits, the film was not registered for copyright until December 4, 2000, at which time the copyright number was issued to Orion Pictures Distribution Corporation and Hallmark Releasing Corporation.
The Dirt Gang was first shown in Scranton, Pennsylvania in September of 1972, but officially premiered in Los Angeles and select cities in November of 1972 on a double bill with Unholy Rollers.
Box Office Magazine recommended theater owners recruit their town's motorcyclists to lead a parade with coverage by local media. AIP's Pressbook added that motorcyclists could also tour shopping centers and distribute flyers to locals, encouraging them to come to a showing.
AIP also suggested getting local bikers involved in promoting the movie by holding a cycle stunt rally, a beautiful bike contest, and a curbside display coordinated with the local cycle shop to gin up interest in the picture.
Taglines for the Dirt Gang include, "God help the fuzz that flashes a badge on the Dirt Gang. Even the devil isn't safe in hell.
He'll get a face full of bloody tread marks and a 250-pound dirt bike right where he doesn't need it."
They put evil on wheels and gave the devil his first bike ride.
They could ride like no one ever could, the roughest gang ever.
Watch the death game, the barbaric medieval ceremony to determine who's number one.
Nobody keeps score. The winner goes to the head of the pack and the loser goes to pieces.
Psychopathic. They live and love like nobody else on earth, and they die by special arrangement with the devil.
Every dirt trail is a one-way, dead-end battlefield and a cheap, dusty bedroom.
They don't all use the little boy's washroom.
That's a real one. That was on the AIP Pressbook. And then for the Dirt Gang Unholy Roller double feature combination, the tagline was, "The roughest broads versus the dirtiest guys."
The Catholic League of Decency gave the Dirt Gang a Class C, condemned rating. They elaborated with a review that called it an old-style motorcycle flick that tries its hand at being contemporary by the introduction of lots of sex and violence. A group of rampaging bikers invades a Western movie set and proceeds to debauch the movie makers until stuntman Michael Forrest pummels the gang's leader to death. Perfectly awful.
But Box Office Magazine's review was more encouraging. Quote, "Going past motorcycle dramas one better in terms of viciousness and vigorous writing, this new action drama smacks of box office strength. There's an orgy, rape, and general tussling, much in the tempo of past cycle dramas, but done with the dramatic flair that's traditionally regarded so fondly by the audience for which this has been carefully calculated." The review called Howard Anderson's photography the best in quite a spell and said the stunt work was first rate.
Barbara Thomas of the Birmingham News wrote about the 10 horror films currently in theaters in that city and numbered the Dirt Gang among them. The Dirt Gang is described by one observer as a horror cycle sickie, she wrote.
And now on to non-contemporary reviews. The Grindhouse Database said, although by no means the sleaziest or most exciting biker flick ever, the Dirt Gang still packs in enough of the expected ingredients, biking, boozing, broads, and brawling to make it a fun addition to the genre.
Peter Hansen, in his Every 70s Movie blog, wrote in his review, "The Dirt Gang presents all the cliches of a low-rent genre without any of the redeeming values found in the genre's best pictures. Performances in the Dirt Gang range from serviceable to substandard. Sporting an eye patch, Paul Carr invests the role of gang leader Monk with forgettable menace. Playing a loudish biker, parading around in his tighty whities, Michael Pataki offers his usual mixture of growled vulgarities and silly movie star impressions. Nominal leading man Michael Forrest, as the tough guy, provides little except for imposing physique. Fitting its title, The Dirt Gang is grungy enough to make the viewer want to shower."
Stevie Q, in his 0-star movie blog, wrote of the Dirt Gang, "How bad is it? It's one of the least biker gang films. There's nudity and violence, but nothing interesting. Should you see it? No."
Many people have suggested that the Dirt Gang inspired, at least in part, George Miller when he created Mad Max. One YouTube user wrote that in each movie, the biker gangs leave one of their own behind at the scene of a crime to be captured by the police. Both gang leaders, Monk and Toe Cutter, send a solitary biker back to find out what happened, but George Miller makes much more use of this in Mad Max. The scene where Max is chasing Toe Cutter, Bubba, and Johnny, only to be ambushed when Johnny takes a crash, is taken from the Dirt Gang. In both films, the cop is run down by bikers. It is a major part of the Dirt Gang movie poster. The scene where Max's police colleague Goose is trapped in a car which is torched by bikers is also taken from the Dirt Gang. So Cheryl, that's all that we were able to find on the Dirt Gang. But what I don't know is what you thought about it personally.
Yes, you do. You sat next to me while we watched it. This movie is not good. There's nothing about this movie that is pleasing in any way. It doesn't even convince me that these people were making a movie. There's 2 actors, 1 stuntman, a handful of crew, no cameras, no sound, no lights. Were they just play acting? Did they all just go to Tombstone for the weekend so they could pretend they were making a movie?
It's not Tombstone because Tombstone is real buildings. These buildings were just a facade, so it's actually a Western set.
Well, I couldn't find any information on where this was filmed, so they probably built it and then destroyed it later. There's nothing that I could say I like about this movie. I don't know about you.
Well, I can't say I even like the music in this movie. The music is kind of weird.
They have an anthem that they repeat over and over again. The Dirt Gang's coming, get out of their way. There's welcome is quicksand.
But it has a really kind of pop bubblegum sound to it, so it's really kind of strange to see it in this setting.
There's a lot of horns in it. It's very loud and insistent, especially the first time it comes up. The horns are just screeching at us. And there's no character in this movie. Maybe Mary, not that she got to really do very much in this movie, but there's no character that you're really on their side. Knowing that Zeno could have ended all this, it's kind of unforgivable. They weren't ever going to leave until he agreed to this stupid duel. Why did he put everybody through this? They were already 7 pages behind.
And he probably still wouldn't have done it if they hadn't attacked Mary, which is the character that he may have expressed some feelings for, at least in the past, even though when she acknowledged that, he didn't say anything back to her. And that near rape scene was really painful to watch. It was so long.
And everyone's just standing around.
They're staring and they're all quiet. And you're in your head just going, somebody do something.
Yeah, she's screaming. And this felt real. This felt like a person was really being assaulted in front of me. And I kind of can't forgive the movie for making me watch that. And nobody helped. There were spears lying around. They could have done something. They should have tried. But then again, they were outnumbered.
Every time they tried to do something, it was discouraged very quickly by somebody dying or getting hurt. The only one who was successful was Dawn when she took Monk back to her dressing room, and that didn't really accomplish much of anything.
No, it didn't get him on their side.
It did give Zeno a chance to escape, but again, that didn't accomplish anything either because they found him and brought him right back.
I'm not sure how much good one police officer could have done. The one that came there, had he tried anything? Had Curt and Sidney told him what was really going on? Tried to signal like, yeah, we're in trouble, that cop would have been murdered quickly. And then nobody would find his body till someone happened across the burnt remains of his car somewhere. He couldn't have done anything. There was only one solution to this problem, and it was the stupid bike duel.
Yeah, and by this time, we're 6 years after The Wild Angels, so biker movies have been coming for the last 6 years. This was AIP's last real biker movie. And we've kind of seen this all played out by now. There's nothing really new here, with the exception that we finally get to see a biker film take place on a Western set, which biker movies tend to be like modern Westerns. So it was kind of cool to see it in that element.
Yeah, I think they did that only so they could have the duel at the end and have it on the Western set. But, instead of guns, they're having bikes and chains. But I feel like this duel scene has happened before, just not on a Western movie set. So that was the only novel element added to this movie.
And of this gang, there's probably about 24 of them, I'd say, but there's only 5 of them with names that matter. And the others are probably the Stunts Unlimited people because they get to do all the cool bike riding stunts, but we never see their names. They get caught on fire and blown up and all that stuff. They're nameless dirt bikers.
There aren't that many characters in this movie, and it's very boring. Aside from being grubby, germy, and gross, this movie's unforgivably boring. There's so many long stretches where nothing happens, people riding their bikes. We generally have to stop and take notes for the synopsis of the movie, but this time we were just letting it play out. All of a sudden an hour had gone past and it didn't feel like any time had gone by because a whole lot of nothing happened.
We saw the similar thing in The Hard Ride, but the difference is that was seen in California and the songs were better. Yes. So we actually enjoyed that part of the movie. Here, the songs were kind of crummy and we were just looking at the desert, which you can only stand so much of because it's the same stuff over and over and again.
Then why do we live here? But even so, there's so much fill in this movie. When we say like they rode and rode, we're talking several minutes. We're not talking about, we just established that they were one place and then they were at another place. We went with them for the entire trip, from the beginning to the end, however long it took. And sometimes it took a while.
Yeah, the movie is nearly 90 minutes long and we got through our description under 30 minutes.
So there's not a lot to this plot. You can sum it up in like 3 sentences easily.
What kind of movie do you think they're going to make with 3 actors? There's a cowboy, a saloon girl, and an Indian.
Well, they're not going to make any kind of movie with no cameras. Unless you consider that the cameras filming the actual Dirt Gang movie were also the cameras filming the Western. And that's why we didn't see them, because they're always just chronicling everything that's going on.
Well, that explains why they were 7 pages behind, because they were wasting a lot of film.
Yeah, they started off in a completely different location and totally different plot. This movie feels like it cost almost nothing and that nobody really invested anything of themselves into it.
No, they couldn't even get Harleys. They were just riding dirt bikes.
Well, I mean, they made it the title, so apparently it was important. They're supposed to be from the dirt race circuit. So why wasn't there any of that? Why wasn't there any actual racing?
They had that poster to commemorate it. An alternate title for this movie is The Desert Angels.
It is? I didn't see that.
I found a poster, like a foreign poster or something. It said The Desert Angels.
They have a very strange definition of angel.
Well, no, it was a play on the Hells Angels and the Wild Angels and all the AIP movies that came before. Do you think that this movie was an influence on Mad Max, as a YouTuber thought?
Well, we did Mad Max already, and I don't recall that the Dirt Gang specifically came up in any of George Miller's extensive chronicling of what inspired him to make Mad Max. You remember this title coming up?
Not once.
Obviously, biker movies influenced it, but this one in particular, we just can't say. That one YouTuber thought it did. He said he was friends with Nanci Beck in real life, and that he had inside information, but he didn't have inside information on George Miller.
No, you're talking to the people who did the original, so they say, yeah, I influenced him to do this, and you're not exactly getting it from the horse's mouth when you do that.
No, and it's easy to look backwards and say, oh, hey, this scene slightly resembles this scene, so it must be a direct influence. But unless somebody admits that it is, we can only guess.
Yeah, I would probably attribute it to a coincidence because the stunts are pretty good here. Stunts Unlimited, as I said, had just formed recently. This was their first film, and they're still around today.
Yeah, the stunt work was good. I'll give him that. But stunts do not make a movie. They enhance a movie, but you can't pin it all on the stunts.
Stunts Unlimited even made a TV movie in 1980 where the stunt people are trying to get a hold of a stolen laser that was threatening the country. And it stars Christopher Mayer, who was Vance Duke in The Dukes of Hazzard, and Sam Jones, who was Flash Gordon in the Flash Gordon movie.
That sounds like a better movie.
Yeah, I looked for it, but I couldn't find it anywhere.
Oh, maybe one day.
I'll keep an eye out for it.
All the imagination that went into that plot is missing from this one.
No, this is just standard biker fare that is very stale after watching these for 6 years.
Yeah, but they only made a handful over 6 years. It's not like they tried to perfect the genre.
Personally, I think they perfected the genre on the first try and everything else was just copycatting that. Unless you count Easy Rider, which AIP turned down.
Yeah, they missed the boat on that one. Still would have been all downhill after that movie. So it just feels like they finally learned their lesson with this one. It was their last one, and they're like, nah, this is a stale genre and we need to move on to something different. Let's do Black Dracula. I think the biker gang brotherhood may have extended a little beyond mere friendship.
Yeah, there was a lot of male kissing on this one.
And a lot of antagonism towards women. And that includes rape, because that is definitely an act of violence, not sexuality. Just taking this as a whole, it's not a great movie. It's not a good movie. It's not even a good bad movie where it's so bad it's good. It's just bad.
So Cheryl, why don't you equate that to a letter grade using our AIP scale, where A is awesome, I is intermediate, and P is pathetic?
Well, obviously this is awesome. No, of course it's pathetic. I just can't give it anything else. I think that there's just nothing interesting going on here. The novelty of it being on a Western set wears off almost immediately. And then we're just stuck with this dirty, gross gang as they inflict themselves on this poor movie set, driving them further behind schedule. In fact, that movie never got made. You know it. The leading man died, and he was the only actor. Aside from that, there's nothing to recommend here. There's a horrible rape scene that we have to watch. There's a bunch of stunts that, sure, they're cool, but they don't add anything to the movie. And then we're just left in the dirt as the camera pulls back. Lucky camera. And it's over. And so for that, I got to give it a P. What do you think?
I look desperately for something to like about this movie. The stunts are good. They're not overly impressive. And it's kind of weird that the people doing the stunts aren't characters in the film. It's always these generic bikers.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I think Monk and Snake did a few stunts, or at least we were supposed to believe it was them.
Well, I mean, the impressive ones, like jumping off one bike onto a dune buggy to start wailing on the driver.
Yeah.
We have no idea who that biker was. It was just the guy who was riding on the back of Monk's bike.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some cool shots, like when we were first introduced to the Western set, the camera pans from the action that's going on set with the Indian character and the saloon girl and the cowboy all interacting. It pans over to the hillside as the bikers ride up to the edge of the hill. And you see there's like 20 bikers there.
I'm surprised they didn't ruin the shot.
Well, you can't. There's no cameras.
No, the cameras were up there with them.
But the cool stuff was just really few and far between. There wasn't a lot. And this movie is really just kind of meh. The songs are grating. They're not good at all. The action of watching the bikers ride is boring. You can just watch them spitting dust behind them as they go, but that's not interesting one way or the other. And the characters are awful. You expect the bikers to be awful, but the people on set, there's nobody to really care for. The director is kind of wishy-washy for being the guy in charge. The guy who seems to be really running things is the assistant director, Sidney, and they give him a southern accent, so you can't take him seriously.
Should I cut that?
You can't take someone who sounds like Gomer Pyle seriously. And the women, you've got Mary, who is there just to be a victim, and Dawn Christian, the actress, who is there to be almost a rapist herself if Monk wasn't so willing.
She thought she was taking one for the team, but I think she was just doing it for herself.
Yeah, there wasn't really anything for anyone but the two of them in her doing that. So this movie is just really meh. I didn't hate it, but I certainly didn't love it. I'm going to give it an I.
I wonder what this movie would have to do to get you to hate it. I think rapey and boring is enough to make me hate a movie.
Now, maybe if the duel never happened and the bikers just ran off to Mexico and it ended.
It really wouldn't be a movie then.
Then it would be pretty pointless, and then maybe I'd give it a P. A P for pointless.
Well, this may be the last biker movie that AIP produced, but it's not our first or last episode featuring cycle savages and biker mamas. To check out our catalog, which goes back over 2.5 years, go to AIPpod.com. There you'll find our entire library of American International Podcast episodes, as well as a contact form so you can request that we do any of those biker films we haven't gotten to yet. You can also find out a lot more about the movies we have covered and see lobby cards, posters, trailers, and other advertising materials, and you can find out where to find the films so that you can enjoy them. While you're on our site, consider going to our store, as a purchase of one of our items helps keep the podcast rolling every week. That's AIPpod.com. Be there or be square.
So as the survivors of the Dirt Gang ride off into the sunset, we're finding we've lost light here at the American International Podcast, so it looks like we'll have to wrap for the day. I'm Jeff Markin.
I'm Cheryl Lightfoot.
And we'll meet you at the drive-in. Follow the American International Podcast on Instagram and Letterboxd at AIP_pod and on Facebook at facebook.com/American International Podcast.
The American International Podcast is produced and edited by Jeff Markin.
A man whose mind is distorted by hatred.
And Cheryl Lightfoot.
A girl hungry for too many things.
The American International Podcast is part of the Pop Culture Entertainment Network.